Alright, how's it going, everyone? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice, this is for entertainment purposes only. Tonight we are going to be doing something. A and Jerry coming in hot. Looks like Jerry might have gotten it, I'm not sure. You guys have the exact same timestamp, though. What's going on, man? How are you guys? Alright. So, today is going to be a little bit different. Everyone keeps asking me to go ahead and just write the DD on this stuff. I've been kind of in and out of work, so I didn't have a whole lot of time. I thought I was going to have time today, but my boss actually came into my office and sat with me because of... I told you guys we were selling a property and one of the businesses, and for the company I work for, and I've been helping them get all the paperwork and everything, years worth of paperwork together, and I haven't had a ton of time today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you guys kind of how I start the research process, and if people are interested, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's not great, obviously. You had a 15% down day, but I mean, we've had dollar down days after earnings, and in this case, we bounced off this line, and it's going to be super interesting, and that's what I want to see right now is we also gapped down pretty significantly, which means this gap is going to fill at some point. So I keep falling asleep to Anon. My girlfriend's going to start wondering about me. It's this silky smooth voice, right? Chickens are tasty. Chickens are tasty. You were right, Goat. What's up, CJ? What's up, Random? What's up, Jake? What's up, VNS? I think market makers will push Aterian soon for the warrants. So it'll be closer towards the end of the month if they're going to do it and they want to unlock him for September. So, yeah, I've been told, I should do ASMR. My wife thinks I should. She's like, I listen to your channel and you sound different. I said, what do you mean? She's like, you don't sound like yourself. And I was like, well, I can't be super animated usually because I've got the kids sleeping upstairs. They're literally directly above me, and there's a drop ceiling. So I have to kind of keep it down a little bit when I'm here. So I try to talk pretty close to the microphone, and I guess I'm not quite sure. But anyway, yeah, we had an interesting day because obviously we knew we were going to get pushed down, and it went down and bounced off this purple line that I kind of had. Not exactly, but I want to point out we gapped down from, what was it, 270 something to down to 260 something. So there's a gap here that needs to fill now. So I'm not really worried about it because even if they push it down for the next couple of days, I know this gap's going to fill pretty soon. So if they push it down, going to average down. But you could see it, money was flowing into the stock. It was doing pretty decently. The money flow's been up for this entirety of this time. I think we've shown it before. If I come across and let me just do one. There's not enough O's. Oh my. All right. That's the SPY. I will be serious now. You should lick some microphones with Twitch chicks. What's funny is I have no idea what that even means. But here's something interesting happening on the SPY, just so we kind of get it out of the way. So we came up, we touched it here. We didn't quite touch it here. We broke through here. This was on Monday, right? And then it got pushed down. And then this was today. And never got back up there to that purple line, which has been a very, very strong, important level on the SPY. And when I zoom out, I can show you guys why. If you look here, you almost touched it here, bounced up, came above it. You broke through here, but then had a solid day pushing it back up, right? came here, bounced off there, bounced off there. You finally came through down here in like late April into May, and you started chopping around right on the support line. And at this point, it was support, right? But it finally breaks through here, right? And we get this massive like sell-off, right, down in May. It comes back up and it rejects off one of the lower like support lines, and then gets pushed down all the way here. Comes back up to touch it again, right? This purple line again, and it rejects off it. So it comes back down, and look at it now. It's been climbing slowly, and we came through and we rejected here. And we'll see if we get volume and follow through on this thing, it will do something. But I just want to point that out, that like at this point right now, we have not had enough volume to break through this purple line and actually get continuation. And then once it does break through, or if it rejects again and just heads down, then we're probably going to be heading down. But if it breaks through and then it finds support on this and it doesn't break down again, then that's probably when the next cycle of like a bull run will go. But until I see that, I don't think this thing's going to go. I'm in the assumption at this point that it will reject versus breakthrough, but it all depends on, volume. Like if it actually got like some of these kind of candles, like where it was like, 90 million or like, some of these ones, that's what would help it break through. On these lower volume ones, it moving up means nothing. What's up, Jonathan? What's up, Jado? What's up, Isaac? Yo, yo, yo. All right, so we're doing something a little bit different tonight, and I just want to point out, because maybe, I don't know if I'll have time, but we'll see. Basically, I just want to show you guys this. All right, so there's a gap here on Aterian, which we'll need to fill at some point. So I don't know. It did seem to bounce off this purple line today, which was an important support level in the past. We'll see if it breaks down lower or not. But like I said, I'm not worried. I went through the numbers briefly, and actually we're doing something kind of interesting, which is I've asked for help from some people, and I'm going to try to do this because I think this is the smartest thing I can do. I'm very aware that like my extent of accounting was basically business school and taking some like entry level like accounting classes, right? I don't have a CPA. I don't have like any sort of huge qualifications. I can do basically business math, and I can do, general stock stuff. But when you go into these balance sheets, they're literally written by accountants, and I guess people who have financial backgrounds, usually accounting, and they are what they call the chief financial officers, the CFOs, they sometimes have different names, but for the most part, the job is the same, which is these guys are the bean counters. They're the ones that make everything kind of like, the bosses go to them and say, hey, can we do this? And they say, no, we can't afford to do that. Or yes, we could do it this way, but it's going to, it all works out like that. So what we end up finding out, right, is, sorry, I'm just reading. Quick says, hey guys, options looking better. We do have a gamma thing going on, and I'll show you on FinTel, because that's going to be part of the DD as well. It's like, I'm going to cover basically the fundamentals of things, but I'm also going to cover some of the short stuff as well, because it factors all together. At this point right now, let me pull up Aterian so I can show you guys. Sure, that's short squeezes, and then where's the gamma? Gamma squeeze. Here we go. Oh, they take it down at night? That's a bummer. I know during the day they have it up, but it seems like That's a bummer. I didn't know they did that. I thought I was going to be able to screenshot it for tonight's DD, and it's basically just right now. I guess during the day, they must recalculate it every night, but it's showing 0 of 0 entries on this thing. So that's a bit of a bummer. Okay, well, anyway. So we go here and go to short interest. They usually have these two together, which is the short squeeze score and then also a gamma score underneath it. So the biggest thing is the cost of borrow has been going down, though, because there's a decent chunk of change of shares available right now. So obviously, the more common they are to have, the lower the cost of borrow. The lower the cost of borrow will go. As these things end up with a 0 for a while, they don't have the ability to reshort. But remember, you look at this and compare it, right? So we had all these green days, right? This one, especially with the most volume out of the ones, right? And this one having a decent one right before earnings. My guess would be that was probably shorts closing some short positions. And we can confirm it against Ortex. Let's check. Here we go. All right. So, because I've got to gather all this information anyway for a DD I'm writing. And I wanted to get it out today, but obviously it didn't work out that way. So, so right now, if you look, as of, I guess, July 29th, this was the short interest, which was about 8.51. So it's back here. So they basically covered, it looks like, about 10% of what they had before from the previous monthly one, right? So all this means is basically that these guys, now they're estimating, I guess, I don't know if they didn't update it here, so they'll probably update it tomorrow. So we'll see what the number they come up with is. But yeah, that I was going to say they probably covered some during this chunk right here, right? You have to remember, so from here, which was 220 to basically right before earnings, which is here, they ran the stock up, what was that, about 60 cents roughly? No, it hit 310 at its peak. So, and there's probably people who, honestly, because if you look at this cloud right here, the cloud represents areas of liquidity, right, of where like the majority of people bought their shares. So you see, like, the stock's been trading underneath the cloud for the most part. When it finally ran up, right, you had people who finally were profitable, and that's to break up above that and keep running. That takes a lot because obviously the majority of people are profitable during those times, right? So then you're sitting here, and the rest of this time, this has all been underneath where this thing is, right? It's remained 100% underneath until this part right here, right? When you ran up here during the $7 mark, right? And if it bounced perfectly off a fib level and then got pushed down, and then this is where I think some of the dilution happened from the private placements, right? So it helped slow down the momentum. The FTDs were building up, but then during this time, they reshorted it back down and then really pushed it down during earnings. All right, because it's been bleeding. Now, this entire time, most people's averages are up here, right, in the 4s and like 6s and stuff like that. We just finally came back up into where people have been averaging down, and then we gapped down. Even though this was actually a decent, the earnings wasn't, I should say it this way, earnings was basically neutral to me. There were some beats. There was a couple things, like I wanted revenue to go back up. Revenue did not grow. So, like, to me, that was a disappointment. I'm just being fully transparent with everything. I would have loved to seen a revenue beat, but obviously with the conditions right now, that was not going to happen. So the next question is, because the things are actually somewhat improving, though, like I was somewhat impressed by their call. I've listened to them. I think I told you guys last night. In the past, they were just kind of like, yeah, we're just weathering the storm. This time, they seemed like they were like, okay, we're trying to get our stuff back in gear. So it seemed to me for the first time, they want to be more proactive with trying to get growth back on the table. They made a miscalculation, and it wasn't obviously something they could have done, but the reason why they got in such big trouble over this last couple of things was they were expanding, and during this time, let me show you. Let's zoom out a little bit. So Aterian at the time, around here, was going through this uber growth thing, right? Like they were acquiring companies. They were like, we're going to be super profitable, blah, 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 blah. Well, what happens? COVID happens, right? And shipping containers start getting really, really expensive. Well, they hadn't planned for that. During this time, they were going through rapid growth. They were scooping up companies left and right with the cash they had, raised. And, what ended up happening was they acquired all these things, and then it's sitting on their books, right? And then what ends up happening? Oh, well, COVID happens and shipping container costs come, and then it just gets absolutely crushed down during that time. This is when shorts really entered the equation here. Shorts entered the equation, I think, if I remember correctly, like in this time frame. And then they've been on this stock for a long time, right? Because they saw a stock that they weren't shorting it up here, though. They didn't start shorting until the shipping containers really went up. Obviously, they do their homework, right? So they didn't just short it for no reason. They knew the company had made a miscalculation, which was they had a agreement with High Trail, which basically said that if they messed up their trailing EBITDA, that they would go ahead and forfeit a ton of shares, which would cause dilution. So shorts knew that, and they pushed the stock down, right? Well, here's the thing. When they got this massive spike in this massive volume, they started failing to deliver, and they were having all sorts of problems with, like, probably my guess would be naked, because the stock didn't have much float, and a bunch of retail came storming in on this thing, and there was no way they had that many shares back then. So this is back when Yaniv tweeted, I think in October, about the naked shorts, and he was right, probably, in my opinion. There were probably during this time, there were brokers who were failing to deliver, because we can show it on Ortex here. I'm just giving you kind of like the history of the stock, right? So your failure to deliver during this time, you have to remember at this time right here, when you were failing to deliver, like, at times, almost 1 million shares, their float was like 14 million. So like that was a pretty significant number, right? The float has since grown because of dilution. And so at one point, though, during the last run up, they failed to deliver almost 2.5 million shares in a single day. Like that makes you think, like, okay, that's not a normal thing, right? It's kind of like the last BBBY, if I remember correctly. If you go to FTDs on them, this one right here, they failed to deliver like 3.15 million shares in a single day. Like that's not normal. Like you shouldn't have that many FTDs ever. Like this is the problem with our current system, right? The current system allows for this kind of shenanigans. And they don't enforce shorts having to close and all that stuff. And so I just, So anyway, getting back to this. So basically, FTDs start piling up. And this is, where they got kind of like, okay, so the stock got pushed down. There's some dilution happening. And then we've had the secondary run up here to 7, right? Bounced off the fib level. And then we came back down. And this is where we're at now. So we've gapped down here. So this gap will need to fill at some point. So in the meantime, we'll see if this ends up holding as a support or if it breaks through and heads down to one of these ones down here. Let's see. I have to get back into this to see. Okay. I need to go back up and catch. Okay, so I think the market makers will push Aterian up soon for warrants. I think I covered this. I think it's going to be later in August or into September. Maybe it will be a couple months after September. The biggest thing is this. So retail has pretty consistently held onto this thing, whether by choice or not, because they've only had basically one chance to get out, which was here, right? This is the only time recently that we've been above this cloud, right? And so I'm sure there were people that took some profits here, But the rest of us have been down here for a while, right? And we're just starting to enter this, and then we got down, and they're going to try to push it down. But they are going to need to run the stock up probably to like, I don't know, maybe 5 or like somewhere in this range is my guess, to get those warrants unlocked if they want them anytime soon, right? So, and it doesn't take a whole lot. Like any sort of volume spikes, this thing will start failing to deliver and go right back onto a squeeze list, I'm sure. So, yeah, we can go over options too at some point. I have to screenshot them for tomorrow, but I'd love to do them tomorrow when it's actually live. That we could do. Jared Dill, we don't focus on anything. We are all independent retail traders. This is obviously none of this is financial advice. People can buy whatever they want. For me personally, I'm choosing things with more theta on them. So I'm buying deep in the money leaps for 2024. Now, granted, if we start like running up, I can always exercise them and get those shares if I think that they're going to have trouble locating them. It's kind of what we did on the first run, personally for me. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, Jake says, buy deep in the money. Those are very safe. Now, they're not going to be the sexiest, and they're not going to make you millions and millions of dollars, by buying like ones that cost like 5 cents and then they actually hit. Like, that rarely happens. But if you buy, for example, a $1.50 or a dollar call on Aterian for 2024, you're probably going to make money on that at some point. You'll go into a profitable part, and you can either take profits or you can do whatever you want. But just throwing that out there. All right, so Mount St. Funk 9 says, I've been creating financial statements for 20 years. I can read financial statements, no problems. I was even involved in an SEC investigation. It definitely helps with investing. Yeah, Mountain, if you want to, Mountain, are you part of our Discord? If you want to join, I know I've actually been working with a CPA in a private room, and we've been kind of talking about yeah, in fact, he just wrote back, and I think he's been around the YouTube sometimes too. But there's a bunch of people that I'd love to I want to get as many people involved as possible. I want to have a space where we can all kind of take a look at stocks together, and that's kind of what the Discord's always been about. It's about education, even for myself too at times. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. And so I would love to talk to more CPAs and more accountants, because I would love to see what they think about things, because obviously I see it from a business perspective, and I think guys like Hustle and there's tons of other guys in the Discord who can see it from different angles. Like guys like DZ know options amazingly well, and they are really sharp with their TA. You got guys like Booksy who are just phenomenal with understanding fractals and how these algos work. And these are all people you can talk to on the Discord at times. You can ask them questions, and like, I know DZ's got his own thing, Booksy's got his own thing, but like, if you write him, he's responded back to me every single time, and we've talked about different stock tickers before. But the whole point of this is kind of like, we should be able to create a nice community of like traders who we can all kind of lean on and learn from each other. And so I'm trying to get better with obviously going through, and like, all these things are written in legalese, because they basically include a lawyer and an accountant together, and they write these things up for every single one of their filings. And so there's a lot of stuff that can get confusing at times, and it's nice to actually have somebody that might actually speak the language. So like, reading through filings is not like sexy work. It's usually what they make the interns do at the hedge funds, and then they're supposed to like report back basically what it means in plain English. But yeah, Mount, if you have any interest in joining that room, we can kind of go over and take a look at some of these filings together. And eventually what I want to do is put it into the open research. But I do want to start kind of just getting the framework of how we're going to do things inside that room until we basically move into the open space. Okay, Z Akbar. Hey, Anon, having you have a moment? Can you check out FAZE? Seems like a short squeeze, high cost to borrow, short interest, meets all the criteria you normally chat about. I'm not supposed to look at other tickers right now. I'm supposed to do the ATER DD. But you know what? I'll do it real quick. Okay. So obviously you're already getting some volume, right? You got this massive day today. So let's take a look real quick at Dilution Tracker from our buddies over at Dilution Tracker, Sean and all those guys. And by the way, if you are interested in the tool, we do have a link in our Discord for a discount on this. If you do decide that it's a good tool that you would be interested, there's a link in the Discord. I believe it's under, I think it's like, I don't know, like paid, no, what is it called? Hold on. Discount codes and sponsors. Yeah. So if you go under that discounts, codes, and sponsors on the top there's a link there that you use the promo code Retail Collective and they'll give you 10% off. So anyway, FAZE. There we go. I think this is a really handy tool. That's the reason why I just pointed it out. And they're like one of the few people. So here's the deal. I've been approached by like, I don't know how many people, and they always want me to pawn their like products. And most of the time I don't think those products are good for retail. I think they take advantage of retail traders as far as like, you know, payment for order flow, all these different things. And, so I've never participated in any sort of the brokerages that have, you know, approached me. And they've offered me like good large amounts of money to like be, you know, mention it in these streams and all these stuff. And it never felt right to me. These guys, when I found them, I was like, wow. And I wrote the owner and I said, listen, I think that you have an amazing product here for retail. And this is stuff that I think every retailer should understand and know. And he agreed with me, and he said he got burned when he was, you know, first starting out in the market, and so they made this product basically to help, you know, newer traders who didn't understand dilution. They've got like education here. I'm giving him a lot more promo than I probably should, but anyway, this is the FAZE clan. I think we talked about this, didn't we? All right, so they do have warrants at 11 something, which are already. Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay. So, we've already moved up above now. This was a massive thing, right? They're pending effect right now. So, they're literally trying to get these warrants out to dilute. Right? So, if you go here, you can see they have a. They're going to issue out up to, it looks like, 6 million, roughly 6 million shares for common stock, up to, and then, so it looks like they're going to basically be having dilution happens pretty soon to raise some money. And they don't really need the money so much, but like, when the stock's running up above like $20 a share, and you have, for example, the ability to issue out, you know, an additional, what was it, like 6 million shares? It's not there yet, but it's like close to 6 million shares at 11.50. As soon as those hit, it will start lowering that down. But in the meantime, it can go until these warrants here are actually in effect. So whenever those come in, you'll probably see something. But yeah, I mean, everything on this looks solid. I mean, you really had money flow in today. Now, the thing is, you know, what is the thing actually worth? And I think the part of the problem I saw, if I remember correctly, was because they're brand new. I think they were a brand new IPO. Yeah, I think they really started just back here at the end of July. So, like, you don't have a ton of, like, record on them. So, like, there's no filings. There's, like, only what you have from basically the, what's it called? I guess the initial IPO, right? So that's the only information you have. We don't have any earnings. We don't have any, like, we don't have much information to go off of at this point. So this is one that I would just proceed with a little bit of caution, because it's like, okay, well, despite how the numbers look, there is dilution that's literally pending right now. So if you want to play it, go for it, play it. Just be very careful and know in the back of your head that, hey, listen, this could be some dilution at some point. Because it's registered. It's just, it's not pending yet. But as soon as that goes pending, they're going to be able to issue out 6 million shares. So I would say they had a short squeeze type 2 back on July 26, which was back here. It was chopping around here. And I think we actually covered this. And whoever was in on this, I think I started, and people were like, no, don't touch it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I said that it did look like it had potential. All right, so they've only got 1 million shorts right now, roughly, shorted. So, to me, and in fact, that was down from the previous one. It's down 20% from the previous one. Now, they may start shorting it now. I'm sure this number will grow to tomorrow, because somebody's going to look at that and go, yeah, I'm going to short that thing. It's at $20. The stock's probably worth about 10 to 12, without looking at the actual financials. The cost to borrow is high, though. Utilization's at 100%. Right. Cost to borrow skyrocketed. How many are on loan? Interesting. Okay. So not a ton on loan. FTDs are starting to build up. Not on. Oh, so it is on the threshold now, or it just came off, or it's one or the other. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, the question is, though, if you only had 1 million shares short, did they cover right here? That's my only concern. You had a volume of 12 million in a day. There could have been a good amount of buying pressure already, and so how much more does it have? I don't know. But what was the free float? Oh, you guys can't see. I'm sorry. You guys couldn't see any of this stuff. I need to keep my OBS open. Sorry. Will DTC get shorted during earnings like Aterian did? I'm sure they will. That would be my guess. Okay. Agree with your take on the ATER earnings. Also, July Amazon Prime Day, they pulled in a high of $5 million in 2 days. Bodes well for next quarter. Yep. Okay. 30 people, 15 likes. Show some love. Thanks, Random. Appreciate it. On a larger scale, Home Depot was doing that in 2008. They had to sell off companies they bought. Yeah, I was going to say, it's the risk you take when you make acquisitions and then something immediately bad happens in the economy that you weren't planning for. Okay. So is there more upside soon? Yeah, I think there's going to be another pop on Aterian. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but I think what we need to do first is kind of lay out all the numbers on the table so everyone in retail knows kind of where everything stands, and then go from there. What's our fair book value now? I haven't calculated it out personally, but let me see if there's any analyst stuff that says anything from this newest quarter. I think if you put quarterly, maybe. Yeah, they don't show it on this. Oh wait, so this is phase, not Aterian. Sorry. I was like, those numbers don't look right. At least we hear some numbers though for phase. If we can look at that in a second, but all right. Yeah, so like as of last year, it was like 4 something. It's dropped technically since then. If you go to quarterly, it shows it a little bit differently. But as of this one, book value, according to Ortex, is 314 now. So, yeah, book value is 314 according to Ortex. Goat's got it at 317. There you go. I don't trust Vlad with my money. All right, so just reading through all your stuff. I saw the Discord chat, lottery ticket buys. Who told you about AVXT? You. I read Discord more than I actually talk. Okay, BBBI got destroyed on earnings today too. Thank goodness I took profits last week. Yeah, I mean, so I still am holding them. I'm long on them, but I was going to say what I'm going to do probably, because it looked like their cash burn was way higher because of, I guess, I have to read through. I haven't read the actual earnings report on them, but it was rough. So what I'm looking at for them is I'm looking at hopefully they go down really, really, really low, and I can just really average down on them, because I was buying stocks at I think 6 to 8 at one point, and then I averaged down back when it was 4 and then 3s. So if I can get it down lower, I'd be happy. I think I'm gonna own them long term. I'm not even looking at making money short term on them. I'm just trying to build up a position, trying to time the bottoms, and really just Yeah, but that was a fun run, right before earnings, and then that's the thing though, buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So we'll see what it does tomorrow, because I mean, they basically are saying they may have to dilute. So, all right, January ATER option chain looks nice. Needs more below $5. Yes, correct. So at this point right now for Aterian, if you think there's going to be some sort of gamma squeeze at some point, and they may do this because, I mean, why not, right? For them, what do they got to lose? They got to unlock those warrants. Might as well push it up, So let me just pull this up real quick. All right. ATER. Options chains. I'm going to screenshot these. But let's pull up real quick. Yeah, I mean, my guess would be they're going to aim for 250 for this Friday. There's a good amount of a good amount of open interest on $3. So I would imagine they're going to try to, keep it under 250 if they can. Even if they let it go slightly higher than 250, they'll still burn a whole bunch. So. Okay. Let's take a look at anything that looks like it has a good amount of OI. OI means open interest for anyone that's not in the know. Okay. Not a lot there, not a lot there, not a lot there. Randomly looks like there's some in October. So I'll screenshot that one too. All right, I'll show you these in a second. I'm just saving them over right now. November's not got a ton. All right, so here's looks like January of 2023. Okay, I can bring these over now. ATER's book value 256 puts it at 295. Yeah, I mean, I just glanced at Ortex's, and Ortex said basically 314. I could see it. I have to do it myself because I don't do how they do it. But my guess would be they're going off of an old number, which is probably, yeah, look at their shares outstanding. They have the wrong number there. So that's why they probably have it slightly wrong. So it would probably be in the high 290s is my guess. Because I think the shares outstanding technically right now is at around 69 million. So, okay. Bringing across the options chains. All right. Give me a second. Oops. Whoops. Close down. Don't need that. All right. Downloads. All right. So these are the ones of significance that I saw. And I'll zoom in hopefully so you guys can see. So this is 3 days away, right? So this is Fridays for Aterian, right? So you've got a good amount of open interest here. There was some change today. We'll see what they shakes out tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, whoever was buying these was buying it probably based off earnings. And we'll see. I mean, it looks like they're going to try to basically push it down to like slightly under here. That would be the most profitable, I'm sure. Okay. Now, the next one is 10 days from now. These are the ones that didn't want the short theta, so they went slightly longer. And you can see, interestingly enough, they had built a ramp all the way up to 5, right? Interesting. They're cheap now. I mean, like you can see these things are going for like $10-$20 a contract. So, yeah, I would imagine their reason why their gamma thing is building is because the options are really cheap right now, and you know, there's a decent amount of open interest, especially up to 5 here, and then you know. All right, let's see. And then we got October. There's a fair amount of open interest in this range. We'll see how much it starts building. And then this one is January. So January 2023 is where this stuff's starting to get stacked, right? So what needs to really happen if this thing's going to eventually take off on the gamma ramp is they need this stuff to get filled up down in the bottom, right? So if dilution happens and like really this stuff down here would be what needs to like get filled in, because that will start pushing everything else up onto the ramp essentially. If this gets stacked down here, that's how, you know, things fly, because they're going to have problems dropping it down to that price. So, all right. And then the other interesting one was these ones down here. So these 50 cents, somebody's buying these 50-cent call options. There's a fair amount of 150. I have these. Not all of these, but I have a good amount of these down here at the 150. And you also have the 250s as well that are open. But, you know, as this stuff gets filled in, it'll be interesting. And this is for, you know, 500, and so it's like a year and a half out. So that's plenty of theta. Okay. An acquisition would be a positive catalyst. Yeah, it can be. I was going to say, I mean, like, if they actually acquired something that in the future is going to be you guys have to think about this. So why do companies issue out stock, right? They issue out stock because they will use that money. We give them money, right? We say we want to buy this stuff. So they issue out stock. We buy it. We own a piece of the company. Why does a company want to issue stock and do that to raise cash? It's because they need to basically figure out a way of making money, right? So Aterian at this point right now is not profitable yet, right? To become profitable, they're going to have to acquire enough businesses to actually offset all their costs, right? So the goal is for them to actually start being a profitable company. And that doesn't happen overnight sometimes unless you have like a specific thing that's a really high demand, right? So some products come out and they're launched and they're like amazingly successful right off the bat, right? But then once everyone gets one, what are they doing to stay relevant and all that stuff, right? So like your Apples, right? They're constantly coming up with new technology. They have to spend money on, research and development. But like you have to think about it from like a business perspective, which is, okay, how is the company going to make money? And so for Aterian, they sell like big bulk items, some like, they're starting to expand. And that's where I think they're going to make more money in the future is they need more products out there. They can't just rely on like ACs and some of these other things. They need to come up with some other products that I would love to see some sort of subscription based or like, just anything that's going to keep money rolling in on a consistent basis. So, but yeah, an acquisition could be viewed as a positive thing because if it's going to make more money for you in the future, that's always a positive. So I'm guessing bots on StockTwits are saying it's a good time to load calls. Hey, people can do whatever they want. All the acquisitions for this company are positive catalysts because of their structure being e-commerce. Yeah, exactly. Food kits. At this point, I would take them doing anything that I could spend money on, over and over again. They need a product development plan to continue to scale up. Yeah, and I agree. I think, and this is something, interesting enough, as obviously, as a lot of us are getting in deep on this company, these are things we can suggest to them. Like, you don't have to be a passive investor. You can be, they're willing to talk to you. Investor relations is willing to talk to you. And if you have a good idea for them, bring it up to them. Like, seriously. Yeah, shocking. Bots on StockTwits trying to bait retail? No, that would never happen, right? Sell me human treats. Maybe something winter related since most of their products seem like more summer. They do sell humidifiers. You want to treat dirty? How about Manhattan? How about a smoky Manhattan, right? Hustle? Yes, please. Random ATER note. I ordered a collapsible colander from their weekly perks and got 2 days later. Hey, there you go. Good stuff. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So we're starting to gather stuff, right? We have gotten a couple things up. So here's what we need to do. We need to basically jump into, I want to see if I can get some information flowing here. Let's see. All right, so basically earnings outs are common in M&A. They incentivize the company for being purchased to contribute to perform well. For example, if in the next year's sales are over $10 million, we will pay you an extra $1 million on top of the price we paid for the company. When these earnouts start, the liability. Maybe he means starts. I'm just reading through a note from. This is from the accounting. I won't blow up his spot on which one of you he is, but when these earnouts start, the liability that the company puts on the financials is reduced by the probability they think they will actually pay. So if 1 million earn out with a 50% chance of paying, it would be a $500K liability. Now down the road, if they think that there's a chance that they would the earnout would change, they would record the difference in the profit and loss. So down the road, they will believe the chances are now 75%. They will record an expense for $250K and bring the total liability to $750K. So ATER recording a gain would indicate that they believe that there's a chance that they actually have to pay, or paying out the earn out is lower than they originally believed. This could indicate that the sales associated with the earnout are lagging, which would actually earn the earnout clear as mud. And I think I actually tracked that. But yeah, I was going to say, so basically what he was saying is like, because some people want to know about like the goodwill impairments and like all that stuff. I'm going to basically try to write it up in plain English for some of you guys in the DD with the help of a CPA kind of explaining it in the best terms he can. So it's going to be a combination of me understanding what he's telling me and then me translating it so the average person who doesn't know all this stuff can kind of understand how this all works. And hopefully if I do a good job, everyone will kind of understand what goodwill impairment is and all these things that you would see in a balance sheet, especially with a company that does M&A like we do with Aterian. So explain it like I'm 5, right? Yep. That, and I think that's one of the things I'm actually decent at. It's just I haven't had a ton of time recently. I obviously busy at work, so that's when I used to spend all the time writing DDs. But ever since the summer started and this project started, I've been like swamped. So I'm not able to just sit around writing DDs all day long. I wish it was winter again. Air freshener scents, fragrances, not obviously for the squatta potty, but for their many air quality products. There you go. These are good ideas. Food kits for their many cooking products, the smokeless grill, the crock pot, the air fryers. Yeah. I'd be fine if they even got into grilling. Big fan of grilling. All right. Let's see. Oh, I've been told that I can make millions of dollars from swing options in some Discord group. Smoked turkey rates are good. We did smoke a turkey for the first dinner. I had ordered a smoker and did a smoked turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. That was pretty good. Do you want me to cover AVXT? They're dirty. I'm happy to go over it if you want. Do you want me to cover it? Sure. Okay. Let's pull it up. See if there's any warts immediately. All right. It was AVXT, right? Okay. So it's got some dilution here. So right now it looks like they have an active ATM here for $44.6 million worth still. It's got $4 million in warrants, which are, oh, look who it is, Armistice. Same ones that Aterian has. So 4 million warrants at $12.50. So what's the stock price doing? XT. Right, so the stock price went up to $5. They might be trying to unlock those warrants. but you're going to have trouble getting above. Once it gets into the cloud where most people are there, you'll have to see if it actually continues following through. They may just be pumping up on the, for the warrants, but at the same time, we'll see. Let's see if there's anything going on here. AVXT. Okay. I mean, it's not really a short squeeze. So they beat earnings and shorts exited. Yeah, it looks like they don't have much short interest on this thing. Just going back. I mean, yep, there it is. So back they had 2 million shares short back then. They're now basically, they closed out their shorts. Media's pumping. Yeah, I mean, there's a gap up here. You can see right here. There's a gap from here to here. Back at, what was that? Is that $18? No. Right. Well, maybe it is $18. So there's a gap there. Pretty significant right there. So this could be a live one. Because honestly, if they do reverse and they go up and try to fill that gap, that could be pretty interesting because that's a pretty significant ways above. So they did a 1-for-12 reverse split in July. Okay. Interesting. Options are dirt cheap. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. Like, they still have warrants, though, so that's what you have to watch out for. So they do have dilution on the table, and they do need the money. So in the meantime, though, this could run for a couple days before they issue out those, let me pull up the dilution again. What is it? AVXT. All right, so looks like it is basically going over double their dilution. So if you look here, their cash burn, they're out of money. Yeah, so they need the money pretty badly, so they can pop it up to this level if they want, or in this case, they can issue out an ATM at any point. So you have to be careful on this thing. That's what I'd say. Like, if they didn't need the money, I'd be like, yeah, go for it. This, with an ATM, they can literally start at any moment. I mean, they might have already even started. Who knows? We won't see that until a little bit later, but, if you start seeing the stock price chopping around, it doesn't seem like it can go over a certain point, they may be diluting. So just throw that out there for you guys who are playing that one. Yep, there's very few that are, like a perfect setup where they don't need money, they don't have a ton of dilution on the table. And even in those circumstances, like GameStop, they still raised money. They didn't need it, but they did it because when are you going to be, $500-600 a share when you were like a $15 stock 6 months before? AMC really needed the money. I mean, both tickers needed the money badly. So, what do you guys think? You like that? I mean, that gap looks interesting. So, I'm just trying to think how I would play it. Personally, for me, I think it's interesting because if they raised some money and they did beat on earnings, most of the shorts have closed, they will probably dilute, which means that it may take longer to get back up to this level. So I might look at it after they start diluting, personally for me, or I would play this just for the next couple days as the volume's increasing. And then as soon as volume dies down, I'd be probably getting out. That's just my personal thing. But yeah, it looks like it can move. But they need some cash. All right. So, what do you guys want to do? Should I keep going? Should I start writing up the DD? Let's see. Have you gone over HLBZ? I don't know that one. Let's see. Hellbiz. Okay, 15% of the float shorted. High utilization now. Just looking. Not a ton of shorts, though. This is probably not correct. So the short interest is probably much lower than what they're reporting right here. Yeah, so personally, Jake, just to answer your question about Dave, I don't like buying stocks right before earnings because typically you're chasing at that point because most of the time it's buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So the stocks tend to pump up on low volume going into earnings and then get dumped on as people, they trick people so here's the honest truth. The majority of retail traders don't know how to read a balance sheet. The majority of them don't. That's the plain simple truth. If you know how to read one and you understand everything that goes into these filings, that you're ahead of the game, right? You're doing great. But the majority of ones are relying on other people to do it for them. And my goal has always been trying to educate people and see if you can teach a man to fish, that sort of thing. Because I think it helps everybody out, in the long run. Because you might find someone that's brilliant and they understand this stuff and they didn't before. And so if you explain it to them, and now they're a great asset to to help other people, and they can teach their children and all that stuff. So that's kind of always been my goal with this thing is education. And I know obviously a lot of people charge for this stuff, but I've always just wanted to just kind of give back and we've been fishing. Yeah, we've learned a lot of lessons in our Discord. We've learned a whole bunch of new things, but I think overall it's kind of was it iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel. The more we've kind of been learning on the fly, we're starting to gather a ton of different people from all walks of life, and there's people that can contribute in different ways, and so it's interesting. And I think the more accountants, I want to get more accountants in there to kind of look at it from a different perspective, and I want to go ahead and if you're an accountant and you're listening to this, DM me, and I'd love to add you to these groups. And so, the goal is going to be basically going through and taking a look and trying to help other people, understand this stuff. You may know something that other people don't know, and you can teach them. And, we named it the Retail Collective because I wanted it to be where a bunch of retail traders could all get together and share information. there's no one leader. There's no, like, I know I'm the one talking, but like, I'm mainly just in here to bring people into the group, and we can, there's people way smarter than me in the group. I fully admit that. So like, my goal has always been to basically come out here, talk to people, try to educate them as best as I can, get them into the Discord, and honestly, like, we can learn from each other. There's going to be things that I don't know that I will learn from other people. There will be things that I might know that they don't know. So yeah, it's a weird thing, like, because some people are like, well, why do you do this? And like, because they're like, do you make money on YouTube? I'm like, no, I make like $40 a month, and I stream like hours a night. Did I see the Cleveland Cliffs CEO about shorting? Yeah, didn't he say they were going to do a share buyback, and basically, like, if you want to be on the other side of this, go for it. We're going to do a share buyback and like actually like screw you. He was like fired up about it. Was that the same one? I don't, like, if I owned a public company, yeah, like if I owned a public company, I'd be pissed. Like, if I was the CEO, or if I was management for a public company that was getting shorted down, I'd be angry. Like, yeah, I mean, it's already said he's learned a lot in 1 year. Like, a lot of us met each other because of Aterian, but we've kind of stuck around and we've created a community around, us basically being retail traders and trying to like figure this stuff out. So if anyone wants a link to the Discord, I'll just put it in now, because I usually do it at the end of the streams, but not everyone does that. So might as well just throw it in here now. And it's free. You can just come hang out with us. So there you guys go. Didn't Yaniv have a video with some dude in a cowboy hat back in October about talking about... I don't know. I don't know if I follow that, but... I bought HUSA because the CEO owns a huge amount of the float and supporting traders squeezing shorts. There were a ton of short attempts used today. Saying that you haven't learned anything is basically saying that you haven't been paying attention. Yeah, I think most people who have been there have been learning, so... Darty, give it back. It's the OnlyFans, right? It's your OnlyFans, Dirty. Putting out Cankle shoe pics. All right, we're having some fun. All right. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of just wanted to throw that out there. There's the Discord link if you guys want it. But yeah, it's free. So let's go back and figure out the last parts. Yeah, I mean, at some point we're all going to get drinks together, or if you don't drink, you can just come hang out and we can all, shoot the S. I'm trying to keep it clean so it can still be monetized and have all the advertisers, but waiting for the return of the porn bots. Money just gets dirty, but dirty money doesn't go far. That's what we should be doing. We should teach the OnlyFans people like how to invest. Sure, they make good money. Help them start their own retirement accounts, and got to get the $40 of ATER per month. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is this. I may end the stream early tonight because I'm going to try to start working on the DD, and I've got a lot to do and a lot of stuff to put out there. Yeah, I'm just reading through. You guys are having fun. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Discord makes me laugh like every day. Like, I read through you guys writing the stuff, and like, I may not be super active right now just because of this project that I'm on, and I should be wrapping up soon. Like, it keeps getting dragged back. It's kind of obnoxious because like, I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, all I want to do is just get back to my computer, start writing some DD, do all the stuff, and every time I do it, it seems like they're like, "Oh yeah, well we need this document too, and we need to start a SPAC with OnlyFans as our target audience, ETFs on our X products." Yeah, see, now we're starting to think outside the box. Oh, just to finish up though, Max. The hell. Here it is. All right. All right. So it doesn't have a ton of short interest. It looks like it's got like 500K, which is not that. It's like 6% of the float. So it's not like a huge amount. Now it looks like it was higher in the past, but like for the most part, it's not really like a ton of like shorted shares. So I'm not sure what he's talking about, like, squeeze-wise. But did have a run here, it looks like, that basically they were on Reg Show. So that's probably what maybe the CEO was referencing, was this time frame. Right here. Where they did fail to deliver a ton of things, so. How are we thinking inside the box? OnlyFans would know. You guys are dirty. You guys are dirty, dirty, dirty. All right. So I know people want me to write this DD, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start like actually working on it now. Let's see. Yeah, better late than never. What's up, Spencer? How are you? Yeah, so I think what we'll do is, like I said, just, to recap, my goal is going to be working with, I think I told you guys that a CPA nicely wrote me and said that, he had heard that I was looking for some accountants, and, we're starting to go through, and we're going to start going through the Aterian earnings, and then also, start looking at floats on some of these ones that are a little bit like interesting. And then at that point, I'm inviting anyone else that's another accountant or anything. If you really enjoy, I think we saw what was his name, Mountain something, or Mount something. It was back at the top. I don't know if it's already pushed out yet. But he said that he worked on Mount St. Funk. He's been creating financial statements for 20 years. Can read any financial statement, no prob. So we're going to attempt to Discord. So anyway, we're going to try to get that going, and I'll write up a DD and try to bridge the gap between all that beautiful knowledge up in the accounting brains and, make it so it's understandable for the average layman. So, but yeah, I'll start piecing together some of that stuff today, and, we'll kind of get a random loves me. You guys are fun. All right. So let me work on this stuff, and then I'll be working on it tomorrow as well. I've got some payroll to do tomorrow, but I think after I get that done, then I'll be good to go. So, you guys have a wonderful evening. Dirty, random, you guys go get a room and just talk sweet nothings into each other's ears. All right, you guys have a wonderful evening, all right? And then we'll go ahead and I'll be putting up DD probably tomorrow if I can get it all together. Okay. Night, guys.